And various things that I would like to put across is that the December 3 movement that we have created is not a parent body in India. The parent body apparently happens to be from my leader, Mr. Chidambaranathan, who just passed away five years before, who is a person with disability, who started a kind of a confluence among the disability rights activists from the ground level, from the grassroots. And he made it into a big movement, and then we all started to travel along with it. Am I audible? Professor Suraman, am I audible? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the history about it. And we parted ways because we wanted a lot amount of attention to come over on the rights of the disabled people. And now we talk about the politics. Now, December 3 movement, what is its achievement? We are spread over 20 districts in Tamil Nadu, which is just like another association, but we do not call ourselves as an association. And I would like to call our association to be a political movement in Tamil Nadu. What we have achieved is, prior to December 3 movement, there were people talking about, all in derogatory terms in the political fraternity, in the public spaces, using phrases, words which are not acceptable to the mainstream, community. But now that has changed. That very important change has been brought by the voices of the disabled people, straight away hitting the political spaces in India, in the part of the country that I live in. I mean, that's a very significant change. The media advocacy that we have really brought out, with the help of, nevertheless, my very, very close friend, Mr. Prabhakaran, for a long time now, for the last 15 years, we are friends. And, every single stone that we have never left to chances, every single stone, I would probably be able to tell you, narrate stories right from 2007, where we started our journey at the start of a road, So that's how it started. And today, my dear friend, Mr. Parasuraman, you will be really astonished to, and the other friends of there, you will be astonished to know that because of December 3 movement, an election was cancelled because a disabled person was debarred to contest an election. That's something that we have changed. An election for the first time in the history of the country, in the history of India, was cancelled because a disabled person, a visually disabled person, was not allowed to contest an election. And all credits to Mr. Prabhakaran and to the disability movement in Tamil Nadu, we have amended a statute. I'm sure Mr. Prabhakaran will concur with me. We have amended two very significant acts, which were colonial in nature. Number one, the Municipal Administration Act, the Municipal Act of 1919, and the Panchayat Raj Act of 1993. These two laws were amended because out of which both the laws prevented one or other category of a disabled person to contest and run for office in India. Now that has been changed. That's something. Now in political spaces, no one dares to make a derogatory statement, not even utter a word which could go against the dignity of the disabled people in the place that we live. I mean, that's something that we have really. December 3 movement, the way it militated our conviction, our courage of conviction for the rights of persons with disabilities is something which is remarkable. Now, I'm not going to take much time, sir. I mean, there are so much to talk about, but I'm also curious to hear Mr. The other advocate gentleman who has just joined. Now, what we can learn from India? I mean, thanks to Professor Prabhakaran, who made some very important observations. But I do also have some observations which are quite important for Mauritius to take home. India enacted a government law in 1995, which was an outlook of, or probably the son or a daughter of a child lock between the Bilbao Millennium Framework and some governments, which happened in 1992 at China. Now, 1995 Act was the first act for the rights of disabled people, 1995. In 1992 at Beijing, from December 1 to 5, I'm sure you were in the United Nations, Professor Parasuraman. By that time, we had something called the 𝐵𝐵ACO Millennium Framework. And further to that, we had a 1995 Act. Thanks to some of those activists in Delhi, they made a huge pressure. Now, what has eventually happened is the first law completed its journey in 2016. Now, the second statute in independent India. Now, what is the fallout? The fallout is simple. You have a law, but as Mr. Prabhakaran said, the implementation continues to be a big challenge for us. Hello?
Yes, we are with you.
Yes, we are with you. We are with you. Yes.
Now, Mr. Prabhakaran will concur with me in all means that, implementation is still a challenge. The reason is, it is a top to bottom approach. Just because there was an international pressure, there is some kind of a change that we are able to bring at the law books. But eventually at the societal level, you seem to have a lot of misunderstandings even in this country, even in this great country which talks about so much of diversity. It talks about unity in the, among diversity, but unfortunately, it refuses to understand that disability is part of diversity. It refuses. But simultaneously, I do see there is a bottom to top approach in the spaces of sexual minority rights, gender rights, where there is an increased conscientization happening at different level by the media at the ground level. Eventually that rises up, and when there is a statute, even if it is a single member bill which got approved in the parliament, you have a lot of changes happening at the ground level. But if you compare that with the Disability Act and its changes, you have a long way to catch up. The kind of progression, the speed, the velocity at which changes happen to the last person in the last row of the last community is very fast. So the bottom to top approach is quite very important, is where I would understand, because the Supreme Court and the Honorable High Courts do pass a lot of judgments, but the judgments do stay in the paper. It doesn't come to reality. So, it makes the jobs of the disabled activists more difficult. No, I don't want, or probably we from India certainly do not want this to happen in Mauritius also. What we would probably try to do as part of December 3 movement is to probably politicize the Mauritian community in a much more, see, talking of rights, understanding of rights is different, different spectrum. And, speaking about the rights through a conscientized mechanization, through the politicization is quite very important, that it becomes a felt need for the society to have a statute. Now, if you're devoid of the felt need for a disability statute, I don't think that's going to have a big change, to percolate down to the last person in Mauritius. So I think we as a December 3 movement, probably December 3 movement is something like, it came up, the word itself came from the people. I think I would now like to recollect the famous talk of Aringer Anna, who was the former Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu, who said, go to people, be with them, build from what they have, understand them. That's how it is. We will have to go to the community, where I think community organization, there is one method called the community organization in professional social work. I think we must start using that as an important tool to conscientize, to politicize, make lots of stalwarts at the ground level to talk to the media, make the media more talk about, not from the charity aspect, give them a clear sense of perspective. I mean, that is something which is required in Mauritius, from my personal experience, from my understanding, there's a lot to go. And right now I like to wind up. I think 3 cheers will always be there with the disability community in Mauritius. We will certainly come there, sit with them, make them to speak about their politics. Comrade Lenin says this, Comrade Lenin, if you fail to talk about your rights or your politics, you will be ruled by the politics which you hate. This is the statement of Comrade Lenin. I think we must understand that. Let the disabled people talk about their politics. Let their politics come to the forefront. If only that comes, the politics of hate, the politics of discrimination, the politics of apathy will come to an end. Thank you very much, my dear friends and comrades.